Well, good evening, everyone. It's your nutritionist, Viola. Glad to be back with you once again. And so today, or tonight rather, I want to talk to you about hypertension and sodium. Some of you may have heard that hypertension is sometimes termed as the silent killer, or now we say the silent threat, because people don't realize that they have high blood pressure. So they're walking around with extremely high blood pressures, and that causes stroke, heart attack. So it's really very dangerous. And the big issue is that it disproportionately affects African Americans. We are so susceptible to hypertension, and for lots of different reasons. We know that even our systemic racism has caused stressors and social determinants of health. But we really need to, I really encourage everyone to have their blood pressure checked. And if your blood pressure is high, to really take some steps to take care of it. Now, I hear often that high blood pressure medications make people very tired and to go to the bathroom at inconvenient times. And I understand that, but it's really find the right, work with your provider to find the correct medication and the correct dose. And also lifestyle, which is what we're going to focus our time on this evening. What can you do as far as activity and healthy eating to keep your sodium intake down, to help lower your blood pressure? That's what we're going to focus on. Because, even at younger ages, our teenagers are dealing with hypertension and type 2 diabetes. And if I go to a dialysis unit, it's disproportionately, you're going to see more people of color, and high blood pressure and diabetes is the two primary reasons why people have to go on dialysis. So I really encourage you to, think about, as I talk about or share with you some small tips for lowering your sodium intake, that you'll decide by the end of this session to work on one small change to improve your sodium intake to keep your blood pressure down. And if you haven't been to the doctor in a while, well, you can go to a pharmacy or a Walmart and use one of those self-checks to see how your blood pressure's doing, and the target ranges are on that machine. Okay? So, the recommendation for daily sodium, and hopefully I'm going to be holding some props up and doing some things. And I know some people may just be listening and not looking, so I'm going to share what I'm holding up. So I have the 1 teaspoon measuring teaspoon in my hand. So per day, our sodium recommendation is no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium, which is 1 teaspoon worth. Now, I know somebody out there saying, well, Viola, I don't use that much sodium in a day. But the issue is that it's a main way that our foods are preserved. And some foods are more processed than others, so you're going to get more sodium in those foods. So I thought I would just talk to you about a lunch. Often people eat sandwiches for lunch, and I just want to share with you the sodium in a meal that you may have, and how you might be able to modify it. Again, everything that's, processed, even minimally, typically is going to have some sodium, like breads. And I have, as you can see here, hopefully, a 100% whole wheat bread. And that's the type of bread that we want you to eat. But even the whole wheat, because the flour has been processed, you're going to get some bread. So in every slice of bread, a white bread, a whole wheat bread, you're going to have sodium. And this particular one is 110 milligrams of sodium per slice. So we're having a sandwich, and I'm going to write this down so we can figure out how much sodium we're having in lunch. So for our bread, that's 220 milligrams of sodium. So now let's look at 2 options that we could put on that sandwich. There is my husband's ham, and he got 2% milk cheese. So it could be ham and cheese on that sandwich. And now I'm going to look at the sodium on the ham. So 2 ounces or 2 slices of this ham has 480 milligrams. So that's 2 slices. How many people put 4 slices on their sandwich? So you have to double that if that's the issue. So we've got 480 milligrams in our ham, 220 in the bread, and just 1 slice of American cheese on this sandwich. And this is, again, 2% milk cheese, but it has 220 milligrams of sodium. And you'll find that dairy products, all dairy products have sodium. Milk, yogurts, even the lower fat versions have sodium. It's just a part of how they're processed and how they're made. Okay? So we have our sandwich, our ham and cheese together are like 700 milligrams of sodium. So it's adding up, right? We have 220 for the bread. We have 700 for the meat and cheese. So we're almost at 1,000 milligrams of sodium in just a sandwich. You know, one portion of one meal, and we're not including snacks. So what about if we pick something like tuna? So this is tuna that's packed in water. So this is a way to have a lower sodium option. So in this, a 3-ounce serving of the tuna has 320 milligrams of sodium. So just because, again, it's processed, it's in a can, so you're going to typically get some sodium because this meat needs to be preserved. But the thing is, you know, it's packed in water and most people are going to drain it. You know, you're going to get rid of some of that. So I'll still write down 320 milligrams of sodium because I might have a little bit more than 3 ounces on my sandwich. But we know we get rid of some of that sodium when we drain it. Okay? So we have a ham and cheese sandwich, 700 milligrams of sodium. We have a tuna sandwich, 320. So it's about, you know, it's less than half. And if you add a condiment like mayo, there's not a lot of sodium in it. That's more fat. And we're going to talk about fat another time. Okay? So we're going to have a sandwich, some ham and cheese or tuna. And we'll add everything up in just a moment. And then often people with a sandwich like something that's salty, crunchy. Okay? So I have 2 salty crunchies. I have a bag of Doritos. And in this bag of Doritos, there are 360 milligrams of sodium. All right. So with the ham and cheese, the Doritos, 360, we are at 1,280 milligrams of sodium for the sandwich and the Doritos. Okay. Now I have a healthier alternative is pretzels. And the pretzels, these are not the unsalted ones, though. They do have some unsalted pretzels, but let's see. Sorry for the crackling. So in this, about 22 pretzels would be a serving. They're 320 milligrams of sodium. Okay, so let me just, 320. So for our tuna sandwich with pretzels, we're at 860 milligrams of sodium versus 1,280 for the other one. So now I want to share with you a strategy here. So look, I have a small bag of Doritos. I have a larger bag of pretzels. What about if the strategy is that, you know, you really like, you know, things like Doritos, not only are they higher in sodium, but they're higher in fat or regular potato chips. What if the strategy is to, I'm going off the screen, to get a small, like I just have a 1 serving size bag of Doritos, but this is a larger bag of pretzels. What if, you know, you don't want to give up your regular chips altogether, your Doritos altogether, but on shopping days, you know, it's a large bag of pretzels and it's 1 snack size, even if you can get the smaller one than this, that's great, bag of Doritos per week or every 2 weeks when you go shopping. That could be a way to reduce fat, to reduce sodium, but we're not taking away a food that you enjoy. Also, you can think about things like, you know, if you want to have the ham and cheese sandwich that's more sodium, can you have pretzels with it instead of the Doritos? And remember, the serving size is 22 pretzels for 320 milligrams of sodium. So perhaps just have half that serving and you've cut down the sodium, you know, you've cut that 320 in half. Okay? So again, I just want you to think about small ways that you can make a change so that tomorrow at lunch, you know, you can modify it. And so we know we need to add some other things, you know. Lunch should not be just a sandwich because for every meal, I think I've shared before, we want you to have some fruits and some vegetables. So you could, with your meal, have, and this is canned fruit. I wouldn't want you to eat this whole can, but it didn't have any single servings. But, the sodium in canned fruit, 0 milligrams. The sodium in fresh fruit, 0 milligrams. But lots of fiber, lots of vitamins, lots of nutrients. And again, it's not realistic to say you're always going to have fresh, particularly this time of year when things really don't even taste great. But look at this. No sodium, no fat in your fruit, but lots of nutrients that your body needs. So we want you to have some fruit at that meal, and that's where the color is. And then one more item. So I don't have to add anything on my paper. Can have any kind of fruit, not an issue. Also, I'm going to add some lettuce and tomato on the sandwich. I don't have that here. And also, I've got some mini peppers. And so for our peppers, lettuce, and tomato, we have to add about 6 milligrams of sodium because sodium's just in our veggies, some veggies, it's naturally occurring. If you look at a bag of like the mini carrots, you'll see per a 2-cup serving or a cup serving around 60 milligrams of sodium. And it's, again, naturally occurring in our vegetables. So that's just a small amount. But we have the ham, cheese, Doritos meal with fruit and veggies at 1,286 milligrams of sodium. And we have the tuna meal with the pretzels, with the fruits and veggies, whatever kind you'd like, at 866 milligrams of sodium. So it's a huge difference. And remember, per day, we're talking about 1 teaspoon. And we're at, with that ham and cheese meal, we're at half that. And again, that's one meal. You at least want to think about, if you start looking at labels and thinking about sodium, at least divide that 2,300 milligrams into 3 so that it gives you an amount that you can aim for at each meal. So, you have like 800 milligrams per meal. Or maybe I would say 600 per meal because you're going to have some snacks and some other things along the way. So again, think about just the small modifications. Fruit, veggies, you don't have to worry about it. But how can you make adjustments? Instead of that processed meat kind of ham, deli meats or processed, can you get your meats and cook them more? So cooking, your own chicken or even getting a rotisserie chicken at the store is going to be less sodium than the deli chicken. Cooking a turkey breast, buying the little breast. And I know sometimes people say it's really expensive, but those little breasts are nothing but meat. And if you think per serving, you pay $10 for, I think, about a 3-pound turkey breast, but you get lots of turkey for lots of meals, and you can do many different things with it. So think about how you can, if you really not a tuna person, you like to have meat on your sandwich at lunch, think about how you can cook the meat yourself and not add a lot of sodium. Or if you want to have the meat, that ham, can you go without the cheese on it? That's a way to modify. So I'm not saying completely give up everything, but how can you modify your meals this next week for less sodium and perhaps less fat? And that's what we're going to talk about next week. And especially as we come into the holidays, just because we want to enjoy those meals as we talked about last week. So, at other meals, be real thoughtful about the choices you can make that are going to be better for your health. And again, I really encourage you, if you have hypertension or high blood pressure, to really work on getting it in a safe range for you. I've seen way too many young people, particularly young Black men, have strokes and, heart disease because they didn't want to go to the doctor. They didn't like how the medication made them feel and some of the side effects of the medication. And you feel okay. Often with high blood pressure, people feel okay. And same thing with high blood sugars. So I really encourage you to make some small steps, lots of fruits and veggies. And again, I'm not saying an all or nothing, not saying you can't have bread now. It's just going to, now there's sodium in there, and there's sodium in almost everything that we eat that's not like, fruits and veggies. So 1 teaspoon per day. And when you go out to restaurants, that's another time to be particularly careful so if you're going out to dinner tomorrow, then certainly work on the lower sodium choices for your lunch meal so that it's not excessive. So I hope this nutrition nugget was helpful, and think about ways that you can reduce sodium. Until next week, take care, stay healthy, and be safe. God bless. Thank you.